Sunday, or I think it was, and I've been spending the last 2 days intensively rebuilding this machine so that it will perform properly. And you'll notice in today's Sanskrit, we have a couple of the fonts are not completely right still, but they're good enough to get through it. So thank you all for your patience. This is my control board here, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. Okay. Hello. All right, there we go. Okay, so for those who are here for the first time, we do a little bit of Kirtan for 15 minutes or so, and then we're going to do a little Sanskrit, and we're going to have a little discussion, and we're going to have everybody participating tonight. So this is a chance to grab an instrument and shake it and rattle it or whatever you want to do. We're going to basically start with one more thing I've got to get on the screen here, are the different mantras that we traditionally chant. The first one is to our spiritual master. Can you turn the light on over here? Flip the switch right behind this gentleman, right there. And flip on the switch to outside. And I just realized the outside lights aren't on. I'll try to turn them on somewhere. Sneak out without anybody noticing it. Yeah, it's the switch all the way to the right. Yeah, when that goes off, the lights go on outside. Okay. So.
Oh, when this goes off, the one on the right.
No. You can turn that one. Well, now you got the fan on too. Just leave it off for a minute so it resets and we'll turn it on.
All of them down?
Leave them all down for now, except for the last one. You can turn the right with one of the first right up, and that'll turn the outside lights on. Okay. So, like I said, I apologize for being a little bit bouncing around here, but between trying to get the computer back up, I'm fumbling with software that we don't normally use. So, okay, but here we go. These are the initial mantras. Just do the best you can. I'll try to make that a little bit bigger. One thing that's neat about this, let me just see here, which I found out today, is a cool little thing, dynamic zoom. I can just go like this, and then we can see it a little bit better. Okay, for those of you who haven't been here before, just come do your best to follow along. We're going to sing these once or twice. Then we're going to sing the Maha Mantra, which is up here. And I'll try to manifest my forearm form here and run the computer and do everything at the same time. Namo Krishna Vishaya Bhute Himanti Bhaktivedanta Swami Krishna Thank you all for participating. Fortunately, Lord Chaitanya said there are no hard and fast rules for chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, so when we have a bunch of very, let's always say, unexperienced musicians, it doesn't matter whether it sounds perfect or not.
Everything is contained in the Mahamantra.
Yes. Yes, it's not the expertise of the musicians, it's the feelings of the heart. Okay, so we're going to have some fun tonight. Before I get too far going here, does anybody know what the topic is?
Your Dharma.
Yes.
Or your life.
Very good. Okay, so that's obviously sort of a play on words. Very good.
Yeah.
That's sort of a play on words. the real question is, how many people here have heard the word Dharma before and feel like they have a kind of a sense of what it means? Okay, so before I go into it too much, maybe we should discuss that a little bit. Before I say anything, would somebody raise their hand, want to throw out what your idea or what your understanding of Dharma is? Because there's a couple different ways it's used, and sometimes it's used in maybe not so good ways.
I think I have it wrong, but I thought it was your life's work.
Your life's work. That's actually not so bad. That's actually pretty good. There's more to it than that, Gabrielle.
I was going to say your destiny, perhaps?
It should be your
nature of how you...
Yeah. Anybody else want to make some comments here?
Purpose?
Your work,
Purpose is good. Your work,
your activity.
your activity. For the most part, this is right.
That your activity as it is in line with your nature, in tune with your nature.
Yeah. So Dharma, loosely speaking, Dharma. If you had to put like two major words on it, and both of these words get interchanged a lot, depending on what aspect of Dharma you're talking about, is duty and nature. Okay? So we're going to be talking about, when we say your Dharma or your life, we're talking in that case, kind of both of them. We're talking about what is your nature and also what is your duty. So, some of you here have been here before, and we've talked about some of these topics before. So, when we talk about the Varna Ashram Dharma system, does anybody know what I'm referring to there? Robert, do you want to take a shot at it?
Well, it would have something to do with the, tradition coming down from the Vedic culture, which would be held in the different different sections that are
Right,
allocated, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry for Jim's thought.
But
It's okay.
so it's
So the Varnashram Dharma system, and I actually have a chart. Some of you know that I made these charts. I have a chart that hasn't been printed yet, but it talks specifically about the Varnashram Dharma system. So there's 4 Varnas and there's 4 ashrams, and this is the tradition. So the Bhagavad Gita gives us this quote: "Chatur Varna Mayashishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartanam Apiman Vidya Kartanam Avyayam." So Krishna is saying that I've actually given these 4 different divisions in society. And they're in every society, wherever you look, wherever society was created, whether it's the Aborigines or the Russians or the French or the Spanish or the Indians or the Americans, these 4 divisions are there. Krishna says, I created these divisions. Now, unfortunately, when we talk about Dharma, immediately everybody's mind races to National Geographic and the caste system in India. And admittedly, the caste system in India today is a very perverted and very distorted version of the Chatur Varnam verse that Krishna is referring to. I think all of us have heard of the concept of the untouchables or the Harijans. These are the people that are, it's think of like the South during the mid-1800s when the blacks were very heavily discriminated against. In India, there's still a little of that going on, where the untouchables, they clean the toilets and latrines and take care of dead bodies, and they kind of do the low-life type stuff that the Brahmins certainly wouldn't dare touch that kind of thing. And it's like if an untouchable steps in the shadow of in a shadow of a Brahmin has to take a bath. So this is kind of the extreme perversion of this system. But that's not the system that's given in the Bhagavad Gita. That's not the system that Krishna's given either. So what is that system? That system is the Brahmins are, in fact, Bhadrani, I think I have a chart that I did print. It might be right here against the wall. Just come around here. I think I stuck it in here. It's the old version of what we're revising. Keep going, on the other side of the wall, right? No. Back out. Back behind you, right around the corner, right there. Is there a chart there against the wall?
No.
Wedged in between the book stands. Oh, I thought maybe it was. Maybe it's out on the porch. Anyhow, I should have had it out. I don't think I have one here to show you either. Go look out on the porch. It might be out on the porch. There's a big chart with the 4 social orders. It's somewhere out there somewhere. Anyhow, so what are those 4 social orders? They are the heads of society, which are the priests and the intellectuals. And they're the ones who basically are, in the tradition, the Vedic tradition, they're the ones who are supposed to be doing the thinking. They have a propensity for it. Here it is. I think she found it. You got it? They are the ones who are supposed to be leading society. Then you have the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriya class is the military class. They're the people that make up the, yeah, there you go. Okay, this is an old version, but we're cleaning it up and all that stuff. So here you go. You have the 4 Varnas. You have the Brahmin class, which are the heads of society. Okay, I can put this for the television world out there. If I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. This microphone stands. Okay, so here's the Kshatriyas, the armed society. What do? They provide protection. They provide the warrior class. If somebody comes and breaks into your house, who do you call? You call the police. We have a Coast Guard and we have a military system that keep the American people safe in case somebody decides they want to come to America and start messing with the Americans, okay? Every country, every society has these different castes. Then you have the Vaishya class. What's the Vaishya class? The Vaishya class is considered to be like the stomach. And the stomach, what? It processes everything. It arranges everything. It makes what? It arranges for the cloth to be sewn. It arranges for the food to be grown. They're the managers. They're the entrepreneurs. They go out and create things and figure out how to, make things work more smoothly. And they're basically the stomach of society. They get things done. Okay, and then you have the Sudra class. The Sudra class is not to be seen in a discriminatory or in a negative way. And in actuality, today it's almost like the Sudra class is being worshipped. The Sudra class are the artisans, the ones who actually lay the bricks, the ones who actually are able to build the buildings, the ones who actually go out and cultivate the fields. They're basically the labor. They do the physical work that's involved in getting things done. Okay, so they're like the legs of society. So those are the 4 varnas of the social body. And in a similar way, there are 4 ashrams, which I don't have a chart on, but it will be on the new version of this, which are the Brahmins, which are the young men who, and it can be the young women too, between the ages of 1 and 25, generally speaking, who are becoming educated. And then at the age of 25, usually these are vague numbers, they're not necessarily firmly fixed. At some point, in our youth, we decide whether or not we want to get married, in which case, if we do, we then enter into what's referred to as the Grihastha ashram, which is the ashram of householder life. And that part of our life goes on for approximately 30 or 40 years. We have children, we raise the children, and usually by the time we're 55 or 60 years old. Now, this is in traditional Vedic India. It's not necessarily being followed so strictly now. But this is the ideal society. Then what happens is at 55 or 60 years old, the person would then move into what's referred to as vanaprastha life, where the man and his wife, now that they've raised the children, and the children are, they call it the empty nest syndrome here in America, they're out of the house and they've moved on to the next, they're starting their own families, they've gotten their own education. Then what happens at that stage is they will then get into vanaprastha life, which is they're now preparing for real full retirement, which means they're recognizing now that I've gotten done with the family, because remember the whole Vedic system is for us to lift our consciousness to the point where when we actually leave the body, we will be in a state of consciousness where we're remembering God. The verse in the Bhagavad Gita is Yam Yam Bhapi Smaran Bhavam Hyajatyanti Kalevram. And that verse specifically means that whatever state of being one remembers when he leaves the body, that state he shall attain without fail. So, but for people that are interested in reincarnation, I say, well, what's the science of reincarnation? A lot of people seem to think that, well, there's people all over town here talking about, well, you only go up, you only keep going up. But that's actually not supported in the Vedic tradition. The Vedic tradition is no, whatever state of consciousness you have when you leave the body, that's the kind of consciousness you will then either elevate to or degrade yourself to. So if you live your life in a very reckless, animalistic kind of way, Krishna's very kind. He says, okay, you want to live like a reckless animal, we'll give you a body of an animal and you can have at it. You can do it much more efficiently. And if you want to live like a demigod and you want to lift your consciousness to the state of a demigod, you can also do that. But ultimately, we understand the whole real main purpose is to get out of the whole cycle, the samsara of birth, death, disease, old age. That's what the word samsara means. It's a cycle. It's a cyclical thing. Birth, you live for a little while, then you get disease, and then you get old age, then you get disease, and then you eventually hit death. And then what happens? Well, it depends on where your consciousness is at. Okay, so these are some of the foundational principles. So tonight we're discussing your Dharma or your life. So what do we mean by that? So within this Varnashram Dharma system, we all kind of fit in this structure somewhere in some way. Now within the word Dharma is also many subtleties. So you might be, for example, in the military, but you might not just be a regular police officer. You might be what? Like a SWAT officer. What is that? Special Weapons Attack Team, I think it means for that. So those guys are like, they're the cream of the crop of the police force in terms of going into some really nasty situations. They're highly trained, and they're like a subdivision within the Dharma of the Kshatriya class. And similarly, in the intellectual class, we have priests, intellectuals, we have lawyers, we have doctors, we have engineers, we have all sorts of people that are very, very intelligent people. They're all kind of in the Brahminical class in the sense that they're figuring things out. The engineer, you could make the argument that engineers could also be considered sudras in the sense that they're manipulating material energy, but because it requires a certain degree of intelligence, I would say that you could make the argument they could also be considered Brahmins. Traditionally, the Brahmins really focus on the purpose of life and making sure that all of society is also kind of working on that. So unlike today's world where basically we have Vaishyas and more or less Sudras running the government, which is why we have so many problems with the government, because they're not trained on what the purpose of life is. And what I mean by that is if you look at, one of the sociologists did a great study on history, and they said you can tell what a culture's focus is at as by what they put in the center of their town or their village. So in the Brahminical class, traditionally, when you think about it, the center, and we even see this especially in Europe, America's kind of like came after Europe. What do they have in the center? They had the churches. The churches were the worst places where people worshiped. That was the center of their consciousness. And then as time went on, the military got involved, and now the military bases are kind of like places where people are focusing. During when King Louis built what's it called in France? The
Castle?
no,
Arch of Triumph.
no, not King Louis.
No,
Napoleon. When Napoleon built the big palace Versailles. Okay, I mean that's to show I'm a big man here. I got this big palace. That became a very focus of the town. And then now, what do we have now in the world? We have
The
banks.
mall.
No, look at what's downtown. What's in downtown Los Angeles? Some of the biggest banks. Downtown New York, big banks, right?
Mhm.
The big banks that's because we're in the Vaishya mentality. It's all about money. It's not about defense. It's not about God. It's about money. And then what we're seeing, Las Vegas is leading the way. We call it Sin City. It's kind of like the focus for the Sudra mentality. Is life is just all about partying. Get drunk and have a good time. So the thing is, with each of these divisions, there's then subdivisions of what you can actually become an expert in. So in the Vaishya class, you might be good at managing a business to make cloth, or you might be a farmer and you're managing farms and making sure that people the grains get planted on time, and then they have to be cultivated on time, and they have to get to the market on time. This requires some management as a Vaishya. And one of the interesting things about the Vaishya class is that they're willing to do stuff like you heard about these people that they'll make $1 million, like seems like overnight, and then they're broke. It seems like overnight. And then they might make another $1 million, and it seems like it's overnight. Okay? That's what a Vaishya's like. A Vaishya's willing to put his whole house and everything he owns online to start a business. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. He just goes forward and he does something else. And eventually something succeeds, right? And the same thing's true with the Kshatriya class. The Kshatriya class, they're not afraid. They will go into a warrior situation without any hesitation. And they're not even thinking they're saying, I don't know, I'm sure all of you heard on it. There's so many things in the news nowadays about some of these guys that are in the front lines of fighting these wars in the Arabic world. And I was hearing one the other day about these guys. I think it was actually at our embassy in Iran. I'm not sure which one. And they were talking about how they were supposed to be protecting the ambassadors, and how these guys, they were being attacked, and how one of them was saying, yeah, I could see my arm was barely hanging on, but I kind of tied it up and I wrapped it up real good, and I went running in, and he kept fighting, It's just like he wasn't going to let the fact that his arm was really practically blowing off stop him. And that's the way a Kshatriya really thinks. He's just totally focused. He's not even really almost aware of his body in that respect. Okay, so your Dharma or your life. So what we're going to do here is, now that we have some sense of what that means, we're kind of doing the class a little bit upside down tonight. And I apologize for the diacritics. I was trying to fix this as you were all coming in. Some of them are okay, but okay, so this verse in the Bhagavad Gita is a very interesting verse, and this is really the one I wanted to focus on, because let me get it a little bit bigger for everybody to see. Because what Krishna is saying is, we all have our Dharma, and hopefully as we're talking about this tonight, you're all kind of thinking, where do I fit in this concept of the Vedic Dharma? Now keep in mind, it's not like we all have, like we're a pure Kshatriya or a pure Vaishya. Usually we have a little mixture of each, but we generally do have a tendency to have one that's a little bit more prominent than the other ones. And sometimes it can be equally balanced, depending on what part of your life you look at. Okay, you can share it if you want. You don't have to do it. It's either way you want to do it. Okay, so this is, unfortunately, these diacritics are not right, and you're going to have to just sort of go by how I pronounce it. But let's go down here and do the English first.
What are diacritics? What do you refer to?
I'm talking about these little funny things over the letters.
Oh, those are umlauts in German.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But I remember I had to reload I had to basically rebuild this whole computer in the last 2 days to get it running for tonight. And I thought I had it all figured out, and I noticed just as you were all coming in. And I did replace some of the fonts, but apparently it didn't take them all.
You can access the internet on that. You can,
that's a good point. I probably could, but for the sake of time, I think I'd rather not. But you had said that a little earlier, maybe I could have done it. I don't want to get lost doing computer stuff in front of all of you and just ruin the whole program. Okay, so, but it's not, anyhow, I think we can survive this. Just try to bear with some of these funny dots in the letters. I'll have it fixed next time. Okay, so what we have right now, this is the English, and the verse that we always do the English first, so people know what we're saying when we do the Sanskrit. So what we're saying here, somebody want to read this?
Yeah. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous.
Okay? Think about this for a couple minutes. We'll do the Sanskrit, and then we're going to read the purport on this. And think about what this means based on what I just said a minute ago, and based on what your understanding of Dharma is. So Krishna's saying it's better for you to do your duty. I mean, of course, you have to know what your duty is. You have to know what your Dharma is. You have to know what your nature is. And I'll give an example like this. During the Desert Storm, the first one, 92, I think it was, if you recall, American history is such that after Vietnam, our military boys came back, and they, we weren't very nice to them. I mean, the guys who went and fought, I'm not going to get into a political conversation here, but these young boys put their lives on the line. They came back to America, and for the most part, they were kind of like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. And partially due to that and a bunch of other things, America became very kind of standoffish about war, which is probably not a bad thing. But then by 1992, for whatever the reasons and powers to be, decided we had to go over there and get involved in Iraq and Iran. They decided to send our men over there again. Now, But the thing is, from 1971 or 72, when the end of the Vietnam War, to the 1992, which was about 20 years later, if you think about it, there really wasn't too much military involvement. American military wasn't really too much involved with anything. People joined the military because, I was looking at the ads in the newspaper. Hey, join the military, you get an education, you get some money, you get your food served out to you, you get to put on a uniform, and hey, it doesn't look like too bad of a career, especially if you're not doing very well in your other dharmas and you don't know what you're doing. So a lot of people joined the military. And then all of a sudden, in 1992, they were called in to go actually what they spent 20 years training to do, which is to drive the tanks and shoot the guns and put on the camouflage equipment and do the sniper stuff and all that stuff. And what did we hear in the news? We heard stuff like, hey, I didn't sign up for that. Yeah, but actually you did sign up for that. You joined the military. But the military had taken on a persona which was, join the military, man. You did all these war games down in Camp Pendleton. You don't have to worry about it. We're not going to go to war, not after Vietnam. But then all of a sudden we did go to war, and you started hearing, and what do we find now? One of the biggest catastrophes of our military is all these people coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a very serious problem.
And the rate of suicide.
And the rate of suicide. And the thing is, that's because a lot of the people that joined the military were not really patriots, right? That wasn't their calling. It looked good when it was paperwork and when it was like, doing war games and, maybe working on computers and flying drones and stuff like that. But when it's time to put the boots on the ground with a gun in your hand, a lot of people went, ooh, I didn't want to do that. So that's an example of people being in the wrong place, in the wrong dharma. They didn't really know themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't. It's just not my nature to be a police officer and get in people's faces and stuff. It's not who I am. But some people enjoy that kind of stuff. Some people do it really well. One other example is people who go to work at the post office, and they're actually very, very intelligent people. Not that the people at the post office are intelligent, but these are people that, these are the entrepreneurs. They're either Vaishyas or they may be even Brahmins. And they're put into some very routine, kind of a routine labored, sorting mail. I mean, how difficult can it be, right? And what happens is at some point their propensity and what happens with them, we call it going postal, right? They just can't handle it anymore because they're in the wrong place. That's not really their nature. They need to be running a business, or they need to be engaging their intelligence on a much deeper level. Okay, so
I got a question. Now, these four classes of people, which I acknowledge that in most tribes throughout history, there are, like they say, 80% of the work's done by 20%, or whatever, however you tend to classify it. But who determines who's in each class?
well, at least in our culture, I can't speak for all cultures, but in our culture, you do. If you want to be part of the military, you go and get trained by the military. If you
I served 8 years active duty.
Yeah, and if you want to be part of the intellectual class, you go to college, you get an education.
Have a master's degree.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know a little bit about you. So you're kind of hitting around. I think you're trying to still sort out what your dharma really is, and that's true for a lot of people. Okay, this is why this is an interesting discussion.
Well, how do they do it in India, for example?
Well, let's read the purport here. Maybe we'll get some insight on this. But basically, let me point out another aspect of Dharma that we haven't actually talked about yet tonight. Remember I said it's duty. So if it's a police officer's Dharma is to come when I dial 911 because or maybe a rescue guy, because there's I need a paramedic or something. And that person says, yeah, I don't feel like breaking up the card game. Let's not go. They're not doing their duty. In fact, the whole Bhagavad Gita is that discussion going on where Krishna's saying, you got to go out there and do this. And Arjuna's going, no, I'm not going to do it. He said, no, you have to. It's your duty. You can't just walk away from it. That would be a terrible, terrible thing. Try to imagine if all the people we counted on said, I don't feel like doing it today. I think I'm just going to stay home and watch TV. You know? No. So the point is that you, and this is what's so nice about the Indian system, is usually you find your Dharma, your parents are very aware of, you know, most people who've raised kids know, oh, my son, he likes to tinker, he likes to get into stuff, or this, oh man, he'll spend all day studying at the library, or this one, no, you can't hold him down, man, he's out there running through the woods all day long, climbing trees and stuff. Parents know the nature of their kids. And if they understand the science and the philosophy of what we're trying to teach the population today, then they understand, you can't, like, they go to the forest rangers. Those guys love driving around in their little Jeeps and dealing with the trees, and, you know, you try to put them behind a desk and they'll go nuts, for the most part. I mean, you know, there's always exceptions, but, you know, and conversely, I mean, I spent 30 years working in the Navy sitting behind a desk, and I had friends tell me, how the heck can you do that? I said, real easy. You just sit there and work on the computer all day, you know, but that was my nature. But other people would be tortured to put them in front of a desk for 8 hours a day. Oh my God. So let's get on with this. I just saw everybody get a chance to sort of sense what the Sanskrit's like. Again, I apologize for the fonts here.
I think you're differentiating between duty and nature.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. So the other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of nature, another real popular way that Dharma is described is what is the essence of something? That's its Dharma. So you always hear what he's referring to. The Dharma of water is...
Wetness.
There you go. No, he's right.
It's
It's wetness. Right? What's the Dharma of sugar?
Sweetness.
Sweetness, right? What's the Dharma of this microphone? Well, amplifying and picking up audio waves. If this doesn't pick up audio waves, it's either not a microphone or it's broken. Right? So if you understand the Dharma, what's the Dharma of a light bulb? To give light. If it's not giving light, it's either broken or it's not a light bulb. Okay? I was explaining to some Christian friends the other day that if you're trying to fix something, if you understand what the Dharma of it is, I was giving the analogy of my hot water. I have one of these, what do you call it, instant hot water, tankless water heaters. And I was thinking, oh God, I can hire somebody to bring him out here $200 just for his opinion on how to fix it. And then pay another $200 for parts for a tankless water heater that maybe only costs about $400. Or I can just go out there and try to figure it out. And that's kind of what I chose to do. I said, okay, well, I know the water comes in cold and it's supposed to come out hot. And there must be certain things that has to happen between the inlet and the outlet for it to do that. And you know, when you get in, you just sort of study and figure, okay, this does it. You to a certain degree, you can sort of reverse engineer it if you know what the purpose of it is. Okay, so that's the other name. That's the other aspect of Dharma that we should be trying to remember. Okay, so here we go. So I'm trying to answer your question. What is our nature? There's certain things that we all know. Like I said, I had a friend who was a police officer, and we went on a camping one time, and some people were approaching our campground, and they didn't even get 20 or 30 feet away, and he was on his feet. Yeah, what can I do for you? Can I help you? What would you like? Because he was very proactive about it. He knew there's a lot of people that cause a lot of trouble. And I would never even have thought of done that. When his wife would go out to the car, he'd say, no. He'd take his flashlight and say, I'm going to check the back seat and everything. And you know what he's in the car. That was a little excessive maybe. But that's because his nature was to be very protective. I'm not like that. I have a different nature. So while we're doing this program tonight, think about what your nature is. Think about, you know what they say, your Dharma is what you do if you didn't have to go to work. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, find themselves having to make money to pay the rent, to put the kids in school, and to keep the car running, or whatever it is. But if you could figure out, if you had all the money in the world and you didn't have to go anywhere and do anything, what would you do? That's a good place to start getting a sense of what your Dharma is, Cameron.
I was just going to mention that it's difficult because we are conditioned by society in so many different directions, and our needs are not met like in our family of origin oftentimes. So society says, attaboy, that's really good because they value a certain thing that's being done, and they didn't get that at home. So you can get mixed up and you can get pretty far away from how it feels inside by the time you're at a certain point in terms of running after pleasure or whatever that you really don't even know anymore.
And that's why we need good association to kind of bring us back to center. That's what this program's all about. That's what we try to, that's what the ashram, that's what the monastery, that's what the priests are supposed to be helping us do. Bring us back to center and say, okay, what are you really going after here?
Yeah, I call it my authentic
Yeah,
nature. That's
yeah.
one of the-
And that's what, theoretically, that's what really good friends are doing too. Is, you know, sometimes our really good friends are the ones who will tell us things we really don't want to hear, but they're really helpful if we're willing to hear it. And we have to create the environment where somebody's, you know, if you really open yourself up to allow people to talk to you and you don't immediately turn around and say, I'm going to haul up and belt you in the mouth for that, and they know that you can talk to you openly, then you'll learn a tremendous amount about the stuff that can be really helpful in making your life go a lot smoother. Okay. Anyhow, I don't want to get too sidetracked. So let's go through this. I'll do the Sanskrit. We've been through this before. And then we'll try to put it together real quick, and then we'll read the purport, and then we got a little kind of a fun thing to end on. Okay, so again, these C's are actually S's. I don't think there's anything else in here that's going to be too far out. So the way it goes is, please repeat after me. Sreyan,
Sreyan,
far better.
far better.
Swadharma,
Swadharma,
one's prescribed duties.
One's prescribed duties.
Viguna,
Viguna,
even faulty.
even faulty.
Paradharmat,
Paradharma,
then duties mentioned for others.
then duties mentioned for others.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. The Sanskrit's, these letters. See, when they do the diacritics, the letters actually changed. This is actually Swa-anubat.
Swa-anubat.
Perfectly done.
Perfectly done.
Swadharme. And one's prescribed duties.
One's prescribed duties.
Nidanam.
Nidanam,
Destruction.
destruction.
Streya.
Streya,
Better.
better.
Paradharma.
Paradharma,
Duties prescribed for others.
duties prescribed for others.
Via abahau.
Abahau,
Dangerous.
dangerous.
Okay, let's see. This is too beat up. Okay, we'll try it. Tell you what, I'll just go through it. I don't want to put everybody through this. I'm really sorry about this. Like I said, I'll get the fonts figured out next week. Anyhow, the way this actually reads is Sreyan Sadharma Vaiguna Paradharmat Svanutita Swadharma Nidanam Streya Paradharmo Bhayavaha. I'm just curious, maybe we can actually get the audio to come out. No, I'm not going to do that either. Let's see.
श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेयः परधर्मो भयावहः.
Okay, we have to play the audio so you can hear it because it's all messed up. I'll play it one more time. Maybe I won't play it one more time. All right, on to the next thing. Okay, so let's go back down here. So what is he talking about when he says it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though you might make some mistakes, than to do another's duties perfectly? Destruction of the course of performing one's own duties is better than engaging in other duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. So, for example, if you're a baker and you're baking bread or cookies, whatever you're baking, and you make a mistake, what are you going to do? Stop baking? You know, sometimes you hear these catastrophes in our temples where they think they're putting sugar in the sweet rice and it's actually salt. You know, I mean, you do that once and you catch on real quick. You label your bottles a lot better so you know what you're putting in the mix when you make something. And everybody's had that kind of a thing, right? It doesn't mean you're a lousy cook. It doesn't mean you're a lousy baker. You made a mistake. But if that baker says, oh, okay, I'm done with baking. I'm going to go work on motorcycles. Well, good luck with that. Maybe you have a tendency to work on motorcycles, but probably better and smarter if you stay with what your nature is, because what will happen is you'll get more and more expert, right? That's what learning's all about. You will make mistakes. And also, there's another verse in the Gita that goes, Every endeavor is covered by some sort of fault, just as the embryo is covered by the womb and just as smoke is covered by fire. We're not perfect people. In fact, actually, those people that get obsessed, I think we all know that people get obsessed trying to be perfectionists. That's actually considered to be emotional disorder, because we're not perfect. We can't be perfect. Okay? So, that's what this verse is all about. It's better to do what your nature is, even though you might make some mistakes while you're doing it. It's to be expected.
One of the things that makes me think of is that often we see people with real flamboyant careers and making all kinds of money and this and that, and then we start envying that, and we think, oh, gosh, I would like that, and all of our thoughts kind of go on, oh, I wish I had that, but actually, that is not really our Dharma, right? You know, it's, you know, our Dharma.
If you're
can be
a person who wants to be on stage all day, maybe it is your Dharma. But there is I think that comes in the category of what Gabrielle's talking about, in the sense that we get fooled. We think, you know, when the Beatles hit the United States in 1964, I think every young person in this country wanted to be a rock and roll star. Whether they knew how to play an instrument or not, they all went out and bought guitars and tried to start playing guitars. And some of them succeeded and some of them did other things. Okay?
So in the long run, you're saying that if you don't do what's according to your nature, you won't be happy.
That's essentially what Krishna's saying, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So so it's important to find out Dharma.
Find
so
out
you can
what comes naturally for you. You know?
to be feeling satisfied.
And part of this is also our, unfortunately, and I generally don't like to get into political conversations, but it's partially the dysfunction of our Western educational system. Because we have this model that every kid has to go through 12 grades of classes, and they have to study these books and memorize all this stuff. But in the ancient traditions, that's not the way it was. They had what was referred to as apprenticeships, right? And in India, when I was in Mayapur, I was hiring a carpenter and he had a helper. The helper was like 8 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And he was a little kid and he was like learning how to be a carpenter at 8 years old.
In Germany, they separate them in about 7th and 8th grade. You take tests and pretty much know what your
Well,
nature is.
theoretically they do that here too. But
it's a little different. I mean, you then go into apprenticeships for in Germany, it takes 10 years to become a baker and a conditor, you know.
Okay,
make
yeah, so it's more
chocolates and
formal.
stuff. But anyway, they separate them at that time.
good. So not everybody's following our system.
Yeah.
Okay. But that is, you know, this gets into the whole nature of what is education all about too.
But now those are all like material aspects of our Dharma, right? Because we also have our spiritual
Right.
Dharma. So
Right.
what's the combination?
We're really talking. Okay, the thing is if you're not in your Dharma, remember at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's going out there, and he's been this heroic Kshatriya, well known all over. Everybody knows Arjuna is the most heroic warrior out there. Okay, and when it's time for him to really shine, and Krishna is saying, look, all these guys on this battlefield are going to be dead by the time this is over. Now you can either participate and really do your duty and come out looking really good. Not that Arjuna cared about looking good. Arjuna cared more about doing what was right. A class we gave a couple of weeks ago is it's often easier to do what's easy instead of what's right. Right? And that's big. And now in the world today, a lot of people don't even care. I don't care if it's right or wrong. It's easy, you know. But in Arjuna's case, no, he wanted to do what's right. So he actually surrendered. Okay, look, just tell me. I'm confused. It doesn't seem like it's the right thing to do. But you are my friend. You're my intimate instructor, and I accept you as the Supreme Personality of God, especially after chapter 11, where Krishna gives him the fireworks, right? He shows him the universal form, and he goes, whoa, okay, now I'm really on board, okay? And he says, okay, what do we need to do here? And this, by the way, this verse is right towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita. And another thing I want to show you, I don't want to get too distracted. Oh, excuse me, this is 3:35. Okay, well, we're going to show you another verse here in a minute, which is right at the very end. Let me go through the purport. I'll read it because it's got some fancy mess-ups because of the diacritics again. It's only about a paragraph or so, and then we'll wind it down and maybe get some questions in. One should therefore discharge his. Now, okay, these are the commentaries by Bhaktivedanta Swami, who's in the portrait on the painting over here, where the purports, or excuse me, the verses are illuminated. Because we can all sit here and speculate what that verse means, and I think because I've read this and I've been doing this for a while, I think we're pretty close to what it means. But we're going to really get some insight into what this actually means. So what is Bhaktivedanta Swami saying? He's saying one should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness, rather than those prescribed for others. Materially prescribed duties are duties enjoined according to one's psycho-philosophical condition. Look at that word, psycho-philosophical.
Physical.
Psychophysical, okay, sorry, psychophysical. Psycho meaning your mental status and also your physical capabilities. So if you're a 300-pound football player, you're probably not going to do real well on a ballerina floor. Or vice versa. Right? I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, and those people always amaze us, but that's what they're talking about here. We're given bodies based on, again, that goes in our karma and everything, so your body might be, and for example, these jockeys that run the racehorses, not that we encourage that, but they have to be really small guys. You know, the old joke of Wilt Chamberlain's going to become a jockey. It's like 7 feet tall or something. Okay, so that's what this is in reference to. Enjoined according to one's psychophysical condition under the spell of the modes of material nature. Spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. But whether material or spiritual, one should stick to his prescribed duties even up to death, rather than to imitate another's prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform are duties on the material platform, and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principles of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. When one is under the spell of the modes of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules for his particular situation, and should not imitate others. For example, a Brahmana who is in the mode of goodness is non-violent, whereas a Kshatriya, these are the 4 classes we were talking about earlier, who is in the mode of passion is allowed to be violent. You have to be a little pushy when you're a warrior. I mean, you got to be out there and doing what you need to do. As such, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmin who follows the principles of nonviolence. Okay, that sentence is in here because, again, beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He's not Valmiki Muni. He's not some great Brahmin giving advice to the kings. Arjuna was a prince. And his duty was to get out of the front lines and to make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing and that people aren't doing the bad stuff. Okay? And he's trying to make this, we call it a pseudo-philosophical, a pseudo-spiritual argument. He's saying, well, no. I know I'm a great hero, a huge warrior, but I don't really want to go out and fight today. I got a stomachache. You know? And it's like, no. You know, Kshatriyas don't talk like that. So that's why Prabhupada's using, this is actually the case. He's a Kshatriya, and he's trying to push it by Krishna, saying, no. If I go out and fight this war, what he's saying, all these women will be left without husbands, and then the whole family will fall apart. And he's making all these arguments about, I don't want to be responsible for that. You know, if the women don't have their husbands, then the society will collapse. And Krishna's saying, no, that's not your position. You do your duty. Okay? All chapter 2 and 3 are all about doing your duty and not getting caught up in these false arguments. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the modes of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. Okay, this is actually a deeper concept. And I just want to clarify, because it sounds like it's a little contradictory, that when actually a person really gets elevated to the point where they're on a high Brahminical level, which means they're Krishna conscious, and there are examples in history, Janaka Pandit is probably the best example, of where a Brahmin, and this is what my new version of the chart, I don't know what the chart is, new version of the chart has much more information on this. The Brahmin can, in an emergency situation, step in and actually do the duties of the other division. So when King Nan was really corrupt in the beginning of India's history, modern history, about 2,500 years ago, they had a very corrupt king. Janaka Pandit said, time to dump the king. And so the Brahmins stepped forward and started engaging in some of the duties the king was supposed to do, because the king was typical, kind of like eating grapes and chasing women, and not the whole government was falling apart. And it's like, no, kings have a duty also to run the government nicely. If they're not doing a good job, out. Okay, so here we go. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmin, or a Brahmin may act as a Kshatriya. In a transcendental state, the distinctions of the material world do not apply. For example, Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana, whereas Parashuram was a Brahmana, but later on he acted as a Kshatriya, being transcendentally situated. They could do so, but as long as one is in the material platform, he must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature. And at the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna consciousness. So, before we go any further, I just want to show you all here, if I can do this. Nope, not that one.
Why does it say Kinea?
Because we have a problem with the computer tonight, that's why. Okay, I want to show you here. This is the one I thought we were reading, actually. This is at the end of... Now, this is actually a different verse. This is at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is only 400 verses, and look how almost this is the exact same thing we just read. I'm not going to go into the... Well, we can go to the Sanskrit a little. The first verse is the exact same thing. Stranasa Dharma Vaigana Paradharmat Svanushtita Swabhava Nititam Dharma Purva Nati Vaibhusham. That's why I didn't get the other one so easily. I thought I was reading this one. Look, it's almost the exact same verse. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18 is called Conclusion, Perfection of Renunciation. And the wonderful thing about the Gita is there are only 700 verses, and a lot of them are repeated, and here's a perfect example of it. And when you see it repeated, that means this is a really important thing to get. It's really important to find your Dharma and to do it. And don't worry about it if you make a few goofs along the way. Stick to it. In the end, you'll be much happier than trying to jump from one thing to another. So, we've got a few more minutes. I wanted to... we've got a couple treats here tonight, which I hope I can figure out
Can you say just a tad more about sinful reactions? I'm not sure I get that.
Well, sinful reactions are basically, I'm always uncomfortable with the word sin, because the Christians have kind of bastardized it to make us all, the thunderbolts are going to come. But basically it means karma. So if you're doing something, and think of, you can usually get away with interchanging the word sin and karma in the sense of,
all right.
if you do something, in other words, if you're you know what the athletes refer to it as, is you're in the zone. Anybody heard that concept before? Really powerful athletes, the basketball players, bam, they're just hitting it. They're hitting it every time. Or the football players, man, they're just throwing that ball right perfectly. When athletes are really in their game, or they call it on their game, right? That means it's almost like they can't make a mistake. They call it in your zone. That's the concept for the athletes. But when you're, if you're a musician and you just get lost in it and it's just flowing out of you, you're artistically talented. I have some artistic talents too. When I'm doing it, I'm almost, it's like I'm just sort of observing my hands doing things. And I'm going like, I'm not even doing this. My hands are just kind of doing this thing, and I'm just sort of amazed that I don't even know where I got it from. So that's what it means to be in your Dharma. It comes naturally, just flowing out of you. Okay? Whereas if you're not in your Dharma, there's certain things that I don't like to do. It's not my Dharma. But sometimes you got to do. My dad used to always say, sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do.
So does your Dharma begin to develop when you're like 25 going
Well,
forward,
I would suggest, based on what we've talked about earlier, that your Dharma, that's actually a very tricky question, because your Dharma is really something that follows you from life to life. Okay? Now, I suppose, actually I was talking about Jirani about this the other day. It's like, is it possible to change your Dharma? Okay? based on what we're reading tonight, it's like it may be possible, but it's not advised. Okay, so, but that's why you need to be with people, and this is where being honest with yourself and having good, trusted counselors who you really respect is really a valuable thing.
It seems as if most young people, young adults, start looking for more in life.
Right.
Around
Good
that
teachers.
age, it's usually after 21.
This would be a real good question. I know a few educators in my life. I've met some very powerful people in the educational system. And good teachers are naturally noticing the students. Unfortunately, what we hear a lot about today tends to be more punitive, like this kid's a problem, send him down to the principal. But good teachers are much more than that.
Definitely.
They notice this kid's got a propensity for mathematics. Bump him to the next class. I mean, we're wasting our time with him. He got the lesson within the first 3 months, and he's going to be bored. Send him to the next class.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what a good teacher does.
Right.
But our world's gotten so impersonal and cold that it's sad that we don't necessarily have that kind of awareness or training or education. Okay, so here's the thing, folks. So the treat tonight is we're going to break here in a couple minutes. I'll have some more questions. If people have any questions, I'll take them in a second. Then we have a nice transcendental vegetarian dinner, which we'll be serving out. I think Radharani's probably got most of it ready to go. And then what we usually do is we put on some kind of a video or something to just fill the screen up so we keep everybody a little more entertained. And what I was going to do tonight is I have this manic, classic episodes of the Mahabharata. This is India's kind of the equivalent of Iliad and Homer's Odyssey type thing for India. Probably some of you have heard of the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is embedded in the Mahabharata is the story of the Bhagavad Gita. It's just one very small portion of it. And in this part, there's a interesting little episode where Yudhisthira and his four brothers they've been exiled to the forest. I'm not going to know the whole story. But one of the little adventures that they find themselves on is the brothers are thirsty, and Draupadi, their queen, is with them. And they go, hey, let's go get some water. I'm thirsty. We've been walking through the forest for a while. And they go off to this pool. And remember, the one thing is wonderful about Indian literature is it's everything there is to teach us something, right? Mm-hmm. So when these stories are not just kind of cool, but they're actually, whoa, what are they teaching us? So he goes off to the pool, and Sahadev goes off to the pool, and he doesn't come back. And the four other brothers, these are great warrior type people. They don't just space out on the job, and they don't get overpowered. It's like he doesn't come back, something's not right. So he sends his other brother, and eventually all four Pandavas go, and Yudhisthira is like, what's going on? All my brothers are not returning, and they're going to the pool, and when they get to the pool, Yamaraj, the Dharmaraj, is actually asking riddles. And he's saying, no, before you drink from this pool, you must answer my riddles. And these guys are like, we're not answering any riddles. Who are you? You don't even show yourself. Forget it, man. He said, no, don't drink from this pool. If you do, you're going to die. And they're going, nothing kills us. These guys are, these are the Pandavas. They got a little proud, And they say, and they drank to the pool and they fell over dead. Wow. So Yudhisthira, who's known as Dharma Raj, okay, Raj meaning king, Dharma meaning the king of duty, nature. One of the other things Yudhisthira was known for is he never told a lie. Try to imagine somebody who never told a lie. Think how much you could be really confident. And there's all sorts of examples in the Mahabharata where when the bad guys and the good guys are arguing about something, he was so highly respected that even the bad guys, the Kauravas, said, hey, if Yudhisthira says it, it's got to be true, because he's never told a lie in his life. He's not going to start doing it now. So even the bad guys accepted him, okay? And there's several places in the Gita where, Yudhisthira says what has to be said, and they trust him because, he's quality like that. So, anyhow, Yudhisthira goes to the pool, and he sees his four brothers laying dead. And you go, well, what's going on? He said, well, I'm pretty thirsty. I'll get a drink too. And then, of course, the Dharmaraj, no, you must answer my riddles. And so he goes, well, okay. because you just remember he's also very humble. So he's like, okay, sure, why not? I can deal with some riddles. And so one of the riddles is the one that's on the screen here, which is, this is the one that most devotees remember. What is the most extraordinary thing? And so, at this point, the Yaksha is another name for Dharmaraj because he's disguised himself. Dharmaraj is actually the father of Yudhisthira, and he wants to see his son, so he's watching him in this disguised mode and asking him all these tricky questions to see how he's going to handle it. Because it's all for our education. It's really what it's about. And so, Yudhisthira replies, the most extraordinary, I found this really far out illustration of this roller coaster with the thing flying off. You know? It's like, whoa. And then I overlaid the skeleton hands, because what did he say? The most extraordinary thing is that everyone knows that death is imminent, and yet people live their life like they'll live forever. You know, we only have so much time. What are we doing with our time? Are we going to try to lift our consciousness to the highest possible stage, so that when we leave this body, we'll be then moving into another body, another situation, from a very high point of view, instead of just, some of the insects running around out in the yard. Or like the dogs that are over there having a war right now, barking for who's getting their meal first. So, there's a whole series of these questions. And if you read the newsletter, I sent you all the questions, but I didn't send you the answers.
No. You were going to supply them all tonight.
Yes, so I'm not going to let you down. I'll go through these real quick because we're getting on with the evening. Hopefully this is going to come up. Why start recording? Okay, this is new software, so, oh boy. I didn't have a chance to.
It should go fast, usually.
I didn't know it.
Oh.
Okay, hold on, folks. We're not going to let you down. Successfully recovered, okay. Cancel, I don't want that one. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Oh, good. Okay, we're in business. Okay, so let's put this up here. Okay, so I'm going to go through these real quick for the sake of time. Now, I want to point out that I gathered these from the video we'll put on while we're eating, which is just something we can watch in the background. I think it's kind of neat to see how they portray this, and you'll hear Dharmaraj answering the question. It's really sweet if you can just focus on it. But I got this from three sources. I got this from our own Mahabharat, which I don't have. Well, there's a copy of it up there right next to the clock. You can see the big book that says Mahabharat. And then I had another little one, and then I had the video one. So I took all these questions, because each one's slightly different. So these are all the questions that were asked. Now keep in mind, when the producers made this movie, they weren't necessarily trained very formally in the Krishna conscious process. And so some of their answers are influenced by what we refer to as the Mayavadi or the impersonal tradition. Some of the answers I would take issue with. I'm not necessarily going to stop on them right now, but if you want to ask, we can. Okay, so let's just go through this real quick. Why don't we go around and just keep everybody involved here? Mark, you read the first one, and then we'll look at the answer.
What makes the soul rise out of his entanglement in matter?
Okay, so the answer is, it is knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, gosh. Which makes the soul rise. Okay, so knowledge of God is what lifts us out of the material situation. Now keep in mind, try to imagine what you would be answering if somebody asked these questions. This is a way the Mahabharata shows off Yudhisthira's brilliance in terms of what we ought to be thinking about when we're asked these kind of questions. Okay, I don't know, what's your name again?
Nuncy, N-U-N-C-Y.
Nuncy, okay. You want to read the next one?
Who keeps the soul company?
So who keeps the soul? Godly qualities are his companion. Okay. What's the next one, Robert? You want to read it?
Who is his guide on that spiritual journey?
Dharma is his guide. Can everybody see that from where you are? That's what we've been talking about all night. If you know your Dharma, then you know what you're doing. You have a sense. And you go to people who are also in your Dharma. You learn from other people that are in your field. and you have some confidence in what you're doing.
So I just want to make a comment on that Dharma thing, because like Prabhupada's purport to those verses, he was trying to emphasize the point that if we don't have a spiritual direction or a spiritual guru,
right,
then we won't actually be
in our Dharma.
in our Dharma.
Yeah, thank you for pointing it out. I've probably concentrated a little bit too much tonight on the sort of material concept of Dharma. But what you're making is a good point, that ultimately our ultimate real Dharma is to restore our relationship with God, Krishna, and understand but to do that, we have to kind of get a better sense of who we are also. Okay?
So Prabhupada was saying the guru is so important, to have a guru, a spiritual guru.
Right.
And in the Hare Krishna movement, that's the whole idea, is to find a guru or a swami that can direct you.
Somebody who knows the science.
But it could be a priest or some spiritual direction.
Right. It's somebody who knows the science of the soul, which is really what we're talking about. Okay, Buffy, you want to read the next one?
On what is the soul established?
Okay. The soul is established on truth.
Yes.
All right. I mean, you don't. That's what I said it earlier this evening. I said it unknowingly. I said you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
We all know people who are faking it all the time and putting on a posturing and looking good all the time, and it's like you try to talk to them. Okay, next one. What's your name, sir?
Jim.
Jim. Oh, that's right. Go ahead. You want to read the next one?
What makes one learned? Okay.
Anybody want to guess? One becomes learned by studying the Vedas. Okay, this is one we might take a little issue with. We would say studying the Vedas, yeah, but studying the Vedas, like Robert was saying, under the guidance of somebody who actually understands the Vedas, because a lot of people talking Vedic stuff, and they don't necessarily even understand it themselves. Okay, John.
How does one attain to that which is most exalted?
Anybody guess?
Asceticism.
By asceticism, one is attained. Okay, now keep in mind the word asceticism here is maybe not the best word. I would say austerity, because if you want to learn something, you got to sit there and learn it. You got to do your homework. You got to do your assignments. You got to practice what you want to learn. If you want to become a musician, you got to do this, and that's an austerity. Okay. Who's the next one? Go ahead.
How does one acquire a second self?
Intelligence is like the second self. These are all riddles. Right? Your intelligence is your second self. We can speak about that all night long too. You're not going to. Okay. Sasha, you ready? You want to read that one?
How does one become wise?
Serving one elders makes one wise. That sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Remember the old saying?
Yeah.
Respect your elders.
Right.
Children should be seen and not heard. In the old American Indian tradition, we go to the elders because they lived a long time. Okay. Is Dennis still with us?
Don't see him.
He's not there. Okay, I don't know what happened to him. Okay, Mark, you want to go to the next one?
Who in this world is happy?
He who is neither in debt nor exiled, and who lives simply eating simple food in his own home is happy. Right? I mean, some of these are just common sense, but if you had to answer them, you're going like, Okay, nonsense?
What is the most wonderful thing?
Whoops. Okay, yeah, the most wonderful, that's the one we actually already did. The most wonderful thing is that even though every day innumerable creatures go to the abode of hell, to death. Excuse me. Got too much Christian milk in here. Well, unfortunately, I can't seem to get this. Anyhow, the ladle of time, we're all heading in that direction, and yet who's preparing for it? That's really what that's all about. Okay, Robert.
Where are we?
Right where the arrow is.
What are the tidings of this world?
Yeah. The tidings are that in the world, which I wish I could do this, which is like a cauldron with the sun as its fire, days and nights as the seasons, and the seasons is the wooden label. All creatures are being cooked by time. A little poetic there. Yudhisthira was, right? Okay, stopping.
How can one find the eternal path of religion?
eternal religious path. I'm going to move this over here to help us out a little. Is found only, whoops, no cheating. Okay. The narrow path of religion is found only in the heart of the great mystics. Actually, that's another one we probably take a little bit of issue with without some explanation. If they're really properly trained mystics, yeah. But unfortunately, there's a lot of mystics who are maybe not so well trained. Okay, Jim.
What is heaven on earth?
What is heaven on earth? Mother.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
All right? John, what's the next one?
What is higher than sky?
Can anybody guess?
Father.
There you go. Good guess. Right? What's the next one?
What is higher than sky?
No, we already did that one.
Oh, hold it. What is faster than wind?
Another simple one.
The mind. How cool.
Right. Sasha, let me bring it up a little bit here.
What is there in greater number than twigs?
This is a real catchy one. Right? Worry.
Oh, that was great.
Oh my God.
That's a good
Isn't it far out?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff
know
that,
that?
you know,
No.
the Vedas have. And the thing is, you may forget this stuff, but you'll get this impression that, whoa, there's something really going on here that's worth paying attention to. You know, there's a wealth of information you can learn. Okay, who are we up to here? Mark. Did you? No, you did that one. You did that. All right.
I just did the last one.
We just did. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, who is the friend for a person close to death?
All right. Charity. Like they say.
Is that defined as love or?
Well, there's a whole discussion on charity and motivated cash and ignorance. If you want, we have a little donation box here. If you get a chance, just look at what it says above it. I mean, charity can take on many different shapes and forms. Unfortunately, there's a lot of charity and what ignorance, but without giving a whole lecture on it, basically it's like they say when you're on your deathbed, you're not saying things like "I should have spent more time in the office."
Okay.
Right? Most people don't say that on their deathbed. They usually say, "I should spend more time at church or with my family or my kids." They don't usually say, "I should spend more time with you," unless you're Steve Jobs. And then you. Okay, who's next?
Where does religion reside?
Awareness. You have to be aware. And unfortunately, that's a real problem today with a lot of mental health people. It's, you know, people aren't, you can't even, we used to say you have to become conscious before you become Christian conscious. That's a whole nother lecture in itself. Okay.
Where does success reside?
Charity. Same thing again. Remember, I got these might be slightly different. I didn't take the time to compile it. I just pulled it out of all the resources. So there may be a little overlapping. Okay, Buffy.
Where does heaven reside?
Happy to meet you.
What?
Oh, excuse me.
In truth.
In truth.
Right?
Heaven knows beautiful.
If you live your life telling lies all the time, then you can't help being anxiety about getting caught about it. How can you be happy if you're constantly worried about somebody catching up to you? Okay.
Where does happiness reside?
Chastity. No, this is chastity. It's a little different.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not the definition of chastity.
Yeah.
What is the soul of a man?
It's not. Again, some of these might be a little stretch, but take them for what they're worth. Okay.
What has covered the earth?
Ignorance. I was thinking stupidity.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's true. It's right. Right.
Sorry.
That's
Right.
good.
Yep. Can't argue with that.
I'm
Sasha.
thinking around the light in the riddle form now.
Yeah.
Sasha.
What is laziness?
Ignorance of religion.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's
That makes
basically
sense.
the whole New Age movement right there. They don't want to learn anything. Just give a donation. They'll tell you your God. Go home, have your dinner, and be happy. It does. You don't have to. You know. The thing is, the reason why we have a small group here is because we actually want you to think. We actually want you to spend some time learning. We hope you'll start reading some of those books. Maybe start integrating some of the stuff in your life. And people don't want to do that. They want something cheap. Just tell me I'm God. Here's your $10. Tell me something I want to hear. Okay? And that's what the whole New Age movement is. They have some bits and pieces in truth, but most of it's not very much anything. Okay, let's see here. We're probably we're almost done. Okay, who we're up to here?
Mark.
Oh,
Who is truly happy?
Oh.
dude, I'm not paying attention. Okay. One free from debt. Yeah, we did do that one. Okay.
No, what is happiness?
And that's not just financial debt.
Well, yeah, all forms of debt.
Right.
You know, making amends and saying your apologies. They have a thing in the Arabic tradition which says, I don't have a real high appreciation for Arabic tradition, but this is one thing I really got to give them credit for. They say that when you go to their understanding of heaven, and Allah says, is there anybody on earth who thinks you shouldn't be here? And if there's one person who thinks you shouldn't be here, go back.
Right.
Oh, my.
That's a good one.
Isn't it?
That's a good one.
If there's one person who thinks you don't deserve to be here, go back and straighten it out. Of course, I don't know if they believe in reincarnation, so I don't know how that works. But okay, who are we up to?
Yeah, what is happiness?
Okay. Robert, your turn.
Uh,
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not answer it? Happiness is the result of good conduct. Okay. Who?
what is true cleansing?
True cleansing is cleansing of the mind. Happy heart, happy mind, right? Okay, Buffy.
What is darker than a black eye?
Oh, this is good.
Black heart.
Oh, that's a good one.
Disrepute. You lose your reputation.
Yeah.
Same thing you just said.
Yeah. Well, this is what if you've been character assassinated, right?
Yeah. What is the best religion?
What is the best religion? Piety. It's sort of a non sequitur.
What is the definition of piety?
Piety means being God conscious, doing the right thing, being
That's a much
pious.
better
You
answer.
know,
Yeah,
going,
seeking
I
to
would
do
I would
the
say
right
going
thing.
to church, but that has such a bad reputation.
No,
It's really got nothing to
seeking
do.
to do the right thing.
Yeah, seeking to do the right thing. Or Mother Teresa says doing the right thing even when nobody's paying attention.
Yeah.
That's probably the best definition. Okay, it's not.
What can prevent mourning?
What can prevent mourning? Keeping the mind under proper
No, I
control.
think it's
A lot of mind stuff going on here. Okay, Harry.
What is shame?
What is shame? Keeping away from unworldly things. I'm not sure.
Unworthy things.
unworthy.
Yeah, I'm not.
I like that. No, I like that.
Okay.
What is shame?
Okay.
I don't get it. It seems like an oxymoron or something.
What is piety?
What is? We just said piety was the answer. What is piety? Wishing happiness for everyone. Somebody asked. Yeah, that's probably not one of the more profound ones.
Wishing they get what they
I like
need to
this
be
next
happy.
question. I'm anxious to hear what this next
Okay,
answer.
Mark.
What
yes.
kills a nation?
What kills a nation?
Lack of dharma.
Slavery.
Slavery. Wow.
That explains being in debt, other things like
Yeah, it
that.
can be interpreted a lot of ways. Right?
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
Okay. Nonsense.
What is the true test of
Robin Hood.
Okay, this is a two-part thing. He's asking, is it dynasty meaning remember Brahmins, you're born into a family. So is it the family you're born into that makes you a Brahmin? Is it your character that makes you a Brahmin? Is it your teaching that makes you a Brahmin? Is it your knowledge that makes you a Brahmin? That's what's being asked
So
here.
is one of the four the answer?
Huh?
Is one of those four the answer?
Well, maybe, maybe not.
Okay. I'm just asking.
These four do not prove Brahminhood.
Oh.
Character, let me see, I think I have it actually written down here. Character alone is the true test.
Character is the answer.
A Sudra with character is superior to a Brahmin with knowledge but no character. So this is what they're talking about here. And I'm dealing with some people right now.
That's
They
kind of
have
like
a-
your nature.
Yeah, I'm dealing with some people. They have a tremendous amount of book knowledge on our philosophy. I mean, I know several people, but I'm dealing with particularly a couple individuals right now. They have a tremendous amount of book knowledge, but they when it comes around to putting the rubber on the road and applying it, forget it. So knowledge alone is not it. It's how do you interface and deal with people in the world and your relations, really.
So you're saying Forrest Gump could be superior, say, to the Pope?
Yeah, I am saying that. If we consider him, I don't,
Self-knowledge available.
I'll accept the analogy. Okay, where are we?
Is religion formed by logic?
No. And in fact, we have a saying on that, which is called, Krishna is known as Adhokshaja, which means he's beyond the ability for mind. I don't know how many people have been watching this thing with Morgan Freeman on Sunday night.
No, I haven't seen
God
it.
Search.
I know what it's about.
Search for God. The last episode, I'm very disappointed in it, but we're watching it on Sunday nights at 9 o'clock. And the last episode, they had some guy in one of these brain scan things,
Oh, yeah.
and they're trying to mechanically figure out, okay, which cells light up when a person's religious. And Krishna's already made it clear. You're never going to figure it out like that.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother lecture. I mean, each one of these is a whole lecture.
It's kind of a Hollywood thing.
Yeah.
More-
Well, they're making that like we were talking about the other night. Anyhow, we want to eat sometime, so don't get me talking. Okay, what are we up to?
Oh, it's amazing. Is religion found in the philosophy of the sages?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. No, they disagree with each other. No sage.
Ah.
Now, this again, we could take some issue with complete truth as a typo.
No sage.
We would say if you happen to be with the sages through the Prabhupada or some of our very advanced devotees, we'd say, yeah, you can really get it.
Right.
But remember, this was produced by the producer to put this published. That's when they don't want to favor anybody in particular. Okay, what are we up to, Jim?
Where is complete truth found?
In the heart of the believer. That's another one that could be misinterpreted. You got to be careful. There's a lot of people who, it's like, who was it? Hugh Hefner wants to be remembered as being a very
Hey, we know the
moralistic and
answer
good
to
man.
the next one.
Yes, that's the one we already did.
Yeah.
We'll give you that one. Everyone knows that death is imminent, yet most people live their life as if they're going to live forever. Okay, John?
What makes the sun shine every day?
Fear of God. Pretty
close. The power of a Brahmin. Brahmins are supposed to be, they're the heads of society. Without them, we're lost. Okay?
So this acknowledges that there is an intellectual or a superior priesthood.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Very much so. Mark?
What rescues a man who is in danger?
I'm sorry, I meant Harry. I keep crossing you guys. Harry?
What rescues a man who is in danger?
Courage of one's salvation when in danger. Courage is one. When you're in dangerous situation, you better get up and do something.
Yeah.
If you you'll be lost, right? Okay.
I'm good at running.
You have to have the courage to run too.
By the study of which science does a man become?
Oh, I chopped that one. Let's just see.
Immortal?
Wise.
Wise.
The answer is not by studying any Shastra does a man become wise. We would disagree with this too, but only by association with those who are wise. Okay. Well, yeah. We say even accept good instruction even from a foolish person. Okay, Mark.
What is more blighted than withered straw?
A sorrow-stricken heart.
Oh.
Right? When somebody passes away or your intimate other leaves you, and you're depressed. Right? Okay.
What befriends a traveler?
Learning. When you're out visiting other countries, right?
That's why
What are
you
you doing it
travel.
for? You're learning. You want to learn about their cultures. That's your friend. Okay.
Who is the friend of one who stays at home?
Traveler?
The wife. Hopefully.
That's true.
Unfortunately, it's not always true nowadays, but that's what we hope for. Okay, Buffy?
Who accompanies a man at death?
Okay, again, there's that word dharma.
Yeah.
You know, what's your duty? If you've done your duty, you can die peacefully.
The purpose-driven life.
Exactly. That's why, by the way, that book, I don't know if everybody knows, but that book was written by a minister down in Orange County. It's a huge, huge bestseller.
Oh.
Because it rings true for people. And there's a whole Victor Hugo who was thrown in the World War II concentration camps, and he was one of the few people that survived because he had a purpose.
That was Joseph Campbell's whole point. What's your bliss?
Yeah, yeah. So these themes are coming, but it was already there in the Vedas. These people are just rediscovering this stuff. Okay, where are we up to? Where are we up to?
What is the biggest vessel?
The earth. Everything is in the earth. Okay. Okay, next one.
What is it that a man can abandon and be loved by all?
And these are the tricky riddles here. Whoa,
Whoopsie.
sorry.
Oh my.
Uh-oh, we definitely zapped into the ozone here. Uh-oh. All right, now I have no idea where you
Scroll
are.
down.
Go down here. Okay.
There it is.
By the way, we're only got a couple more here. 2 or 3.
What was it? What can you abandon?
What is it
Love
that
by
a
all.
man can abandon and be loved by all? I'm going to say self.
Pride.
Pride.
Oh, wow.
Definitely
right.
my favorite
Wow.
setting.
Good one. All right.
Cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
John?
What yields great joy and not sorrow when it is lost?
It's another one like this.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, what's the last one here?
What makes one
What makes
one
one
rich
rich?
when they give it up?
Desire. That's the Buddhist thing. If you don't have any desires, you won't be disappointed. Some of these you might you can make some debate about. Okay, we're not going to go any further because these other ones here, we're running a little late here. I want to get everybody fed, and then we'll put on the video. But this is if you watch the video, I'll explain this part here, because at the end, when Yamaraj gets done asking Yudhisthira all these questions, remember he's got 4 dead brothers, and he says to him, "Okay, I have the 4 dead brothers. Which one would you? I'm going to give you one of them back. I will revive one of them." So of course, if you know the 4 brothers, you think, "Oh, he's going to get Arjuna, man. Arjuna's cool." You know, or Bhima. Bhima's it pulls trees out of the ground and smacks people over the head with them. That's what Bhima's like. These are these brothers, okay? And so you think that, and he said, "No, I want Sahadev and Nakula are his other twin brothers, and one of them is expert in music, and the other one is expert in poetry, I think." And he asked for Sahadev, and you go, "What? Why would you pick them?" And the answer is because they were born with the Pandavas came from 2 different mothers. The king had two wives, and Yudhisthira was so conscientious. He said, "Well," and even the other mother was dead, but in her name, he wanted to make sure that she had at least one son who still lived. So he said, "Yeah, let him have." Anyhow, so you'll see the video. It's it blows your mind when you actually realize that Vedic culture is a complete shift from it's all about me to no, it's not all about you. It's all about something much greater than you. And when you really move into that space, your whole way of dealing with the world changes. And the way you see people and the way you make decisions and the thing you invest in, everything changes.
But yet your relationship with God is very personal. It is.
Yes,
all
it's
about
very
you.
personal, based on your Dharma, yeah. Okay.
I was just thinking, Robert asked or mentioned something that for spiritual Dharma or whatever eternal Dharma is. Did we ever get?
In a nutshell, this probably should be said, our eternal nature, actually George Ashton said at the beginning of the Krishna book, when we paid for the first edition, he said everybody's looking for Krishna. They just don't know where to find him. They're looking in all the wrong places. They're looking into the stage. They're looking what he knew. By the time he was 28 years old, he was one of the most famous musicians in the history of mankind. And he had everything anybody could ever want from a material point of view. And he said, "Yeah, it's not good enough. It's not working." Okay. And he said, "Don't waste your time chasing that, because that's not where it's at." So what is the duty? The duty, what is the verse? Savai pumsa paro dharma yato bhaktira hochada hoitaki apatiyata yayatna supersiyate. That occupational duty, which is meant for all of human beings, is that which will provide unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. And why does it need to be unmotivated and uninterrupted? Or let's say to the degree which is unmotivated and uninterrupted, to that degree, the end of that verse goes, it will satisfy the self.
Unmotivated means without expectation.
Savai pumsa paro dharma yito bhaktira hochija. I'm not sure if it's in the Gita or it's in the
Bhagavatam.
it's in the Bhagavad.
112.
112. It's right in the beginning of the Bhagavad.
But unmotivated, it means without expectation
Yeah.
of results.
You just do it out of love. You just
Without
do it.
any material motivation. It means no change. And that's the only ultimate thing that will completely satisfy the self. So when we get that, that's when we can actually be fully satisfied.
And the thing is, the whole world today, this is the real kicker. The whole world today is geared towards just the opposite of that. Everybody's motivated for something. I want this, I want that, I gotta have this, I gotta have that. And Madison Avenue is ready to just go run with it. Madison Abbey is ready to give us everything we want to demand, and they're telling. They're not only they're telling us you need this, you need that, you need more, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that doesn't work too well. What is it? What is that? Oh, I can't remember the movie of.
What is that in the clouds in that picture?
That's a swan bird carrying demigods, which is a whole nother discussion. Okay,
I was
so
thinking just one quick last thing, because the point that you just made. They said like in America, apparently, we have so much, wastage in terms of material, facility. There's ample, whereas in places like India, people, there's so much starvation things. But yet they say when they did a survey or some kind of a test, apparently the people there were more happy. The simple farmers said, because they knew they had this real connection with God and simple living, high thinking. And so that's the point. I mean, like, you can have so much material things, like you need this, you need that, and yet we're not happy.
Mother Teresa said the real starvation in the world is in America. It's the starvation of the heart and soul.
Starvation
Same
of the
thing.
heart and soul.
when you actually, the people who really have touched us in our lives and have really made names for themselves as great, mature devotees. I mean, she was a devotee. We're all devotees. It's just some of us are kind of waking up
Covered.
to it.
Just covered.
And most
by
people are just like, I don't know what that is. They're covered like clouds in the sky. We all have some relationship with the sun. It's just a lot of people have a lot of clouds in the way. Okay, let's do this real quick. We'll sing it together, and then we'll get on with it. I'm sorry, we're running a little late. Saridara vijjajal jitendriyate ka jive phale visaya sagare dharma jay jivayati loba moyas durmati take jeta katina samsare Krishna badadaya mai karibada jivajai swaprashadana dilavai sayana rikta pal radha Krishna gunagal premida ko chaitanya nitai Jai Mai Tai. We always ask for somebody to volunteer to read the English here. Who would like to do that?
I'll read it.
Good.
O Lord, this material body is a lump of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths to death. Somehow we have fallen into this ocean of material sense enjoyment, and of all the senses, the tongue is most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world, but you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us and have given us such nice prasadam, just to control the tongue. May we take this prasadam to our full satisfaction and glorify your lordships here.
Sri Sri Radha Krishna.
Sri Sri Radha Krishna, and in love call for the help of Lord
Chaitanya.
And Lord Nityananda.
Nityananda. Very good. That's pretty good. And it was written by a gentleman called Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And I always like to kind of give everybody a little picture. These pictures are pictures of the spiritual world. It's a little out of focus because it's so blown up, but this is actually Krishna having a wonderful. They say God's not out there keeping track, and the atheists like say, "Well, you got one." No, he's not doing all that. He's having a party. He's got other people doing all that. And this is the spiritual world. Krishna's enjoying with his friends and associates. So thank you all very much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and queue up the Mahabharata. It'll run for maybe 15 or 20 minutes while you're eating. And then you're all welcome to hang and ask more questions and associate or whatever it is you want to do. But for now, can you flip the switch on?